This video, it's not about the why of portraying Netanyahu, not the why. This is simply about the making of the portrait. I always start with as many images of the subject as possible from all angles, but above all I'm looking for that one image that contains the essential man. And this, I think, is it. Resolute, arrogant, uncompromising. And 5 days of adding and subtracting plaster resulted in this passable likeness. In making a recent sculpture of Greta Thunberg, I used carbon-neutral materials. A few years ago, I made a portrait of Nick Smith out of cow shit. That also seemed very appropriate. And as for the leader of this present apartheid state in Israel, let me remind you of a young American woman called Rachel Corrie, who was killed in Palestine by an Israeli soldier driving a bulldozer. Rachel was protesting against the demolition of Palestinian homes. Her death sparked outrage in the States, and for a moment the West raised its head and took notice, just for a moment. And then without apology the destruction continued. Ironically, on the day of Rachel's murder, 9 Palestinians were also killed, but nobody in the West seemed to notice. One of those Palestinians was 4 years old, another 90. And so it's been on this 70-year-old road of tragedy for Palestine. Most of the deaths and misery have gone unremarked. Now, when you destroy a village, you don't just remove the people from the village, you remove their spirit as well, and what is left is dust and rubble. The architecture of a human being, when it is reduced to its rubble, is just bone. So it seemed to me to be an appropriate thing to use bone as the medium for this particular sculpture. And because I mean to be insulting, I've used the bones of an animal that Orthodox Jews are prohibited from consuming. This is the bone. We've taken it out of the furnace. It's possibly not quite enough to do the job I want to do, but we're going to put it now into this blender here. From the original sculpture, I've taken 4 rubber molds, and having mixed the bone with gum arabic and hemp fibre as a binder, I then press that putty into the molds about 4 millimeters thick and leave it for a few days to dry in the sun. This is the resulting shell is about as strong as bisque pottery. In Jewish tradition, anyone who destroys a life is considered to have destroyed the entire world. In these terms, a person is not just a statistic, but a being who has a universe of potential, connected to everybody. John Donne reflected that in his poem, For Whom the Bell Tolls. He says, "No man is an island entire unto himself. Every man's death diminishes me. This fight of theirs is also our fight. Their pain is our pain. Their children are our children. Their blood is also our blood."
Needle out. That's it.
Yep. All good.
So if you don't, does it spurt out of you?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much.
For many Palestinians expelled from their villages, the only things they were left with were the keys to their homes. A Palestinian does not regard his home as we do, a commodity to be traded sometime in the future for capital gain. A Palestinian home is something that has been occupied for generations. Its roots go deep into the earth. It is his and her identity. The root to all this unhappiness is very, very easy to understand. W.H. Auden once said, "I do not fear the man who would practice 10,000 kicks at one time. The man I do fear is he who will practice one kick 10,000 times."